good, everybody? Today, we're going to be talking about
how to get over your crush.
So, according to Google, a crush is a brief but intense infatuation for someone, especially someone unattainable or inappropriate. But I think this definition is stupid. So, obviously, I made my own correct definition, which is a person who causes you to feel sparkles. And you may be saying, Dani, what the hell are sparkles? Well, it's not Robin sparkles, and it is not these like things that are supposed to be sparkles, but honestly look more just like zits on my screen for some reason. Sparkles is actually a term that my friend developed. It's the feeling that triggers the desire for you to get closer to a person in a romantic and or sexual way. And I'm saying sexual because I don't want this to get demonetized. I think it simply means like you have an attraction or you have this like connection that you can't really describe or understand with words, and yet it's very much like palpable. I don't know. The 6 levels of crushing. So level 1 is microscopic. I like you, but not enough to tell my friends about it. The next level is level 2, fleeting. I like you, but I forget about it every time you're not around me. Level 3 is wholesome. I simply like you. Level 4 is giddy. I feel high when I'm around you. Level 5 is obsessive. I think about you all the time. And then level 6 is what the actual fuck. Every decision I make is based on trying to get you to love me. So the safe zone, level 1 microscopic. This is something that's basically like non-existent. It doesn't really impact you. Like you might have your feelings hurt just because you're an actual normal human being, but at the end of the day, it's not like you would feel like your life is crumbling before you. Level 2 is fleeting. You felt a couple sparkles that one time you made eye contact, but that's about it. The fun zone. This is the zone where I think we want to be most of the time. Level 3, wholesome. You're not necessarily in a state where you're really trying to get something out of this person. You get excited in their presence. You want to spend more time with them. You want to get to know them. If you made a list of all the people you've had feelings for, they'd be on it. Not like I've ever done that. I actually have once. So level 4 is giddy. You know like that stereotype of like girls when they like a guy and she's like, haha, oh my god. I get like that. The way that this other person makes me feel is like so intense. Like I feel like a little kid. At this stage, rejection would hurt like a bitch, but you could handle it. There is an honorary zone, which is the danger zone. I made up 2 points. I made up all of these points, but I integrated 2 points that are like in between. Level 4.58, infatuated, I like you so much. On this stage, you're on a bit of an emotional roller coaster. It doesn't matter how many times you're rejected by this person, you're still going to go for it or wait for them to come around. You're not quite at the point where like you're miserable all the time because, you know, you're a little bit delusional. However, you're starting to invest yourself into something regardless of whether that something is also investing in you. The next presentation of this is the ashamed version. In this place, you don't get on this roller coaster and you get really excited and you're like, I'm gonna turn this into a high all the time. You kind of shut down because of it. So in this stage, you won't get rejected, but that's because you won't make a move. You always want to talk to your friends about it, but you don't because you don't want to expose yourself. So now we get into the misery zone. Level 5, obsessive. So you overthink their every move and make bids for attention all the time. So let's say like I like somebody and I start to like poke them on the arm, and if they turn to me and respond to me and they're like all goofy with me, I'll be like, oh my gosh, they like me, this is amazing. However, if I make a bid for attention like poking them on the arm and they just ignore me or they're like, stop doing that, then I'll shut down and be like, oh my god, I am so stupid. Why did I do that? Now they know I like them. If you guys understand the pattern of intermittent reinforcement, this is where it shines. Your goal in this stage is to figure out how the other person feels, and based off of that, that's how you choose your actions. Level 6, what the fuck, is basically the exact same thing. The difference here is that it gets to such an extreme where you basically have no life. Your friends consistently encourage you to either be direct about your feelings or let it go completely. In the obsessive stage, maybe like your best friend knows where you're at. Whereas in this stage, it's pretty prevalent to everybody who knows you. Your friendships are probably falling apart. You're probably not seeing people as often. Your entire sense of self-worth and your entire sense of happiness revolve around this other human being. Pop quiz. Question 1. What is your goal? A, make my crush fall in love with me. B, convince myself to hate them. C, change my typical crushing zone. Or D, act super aloof so I don't scare them off. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer is C, change my typical crushing zone. For me, this is typically where I have resided my whole life. Recently, this has been my zone. I still can get a little bit into the danger zone. There's times where I find myself like becoming a little bit like ashamed. However, recently, I was resonating in like this zone towards somebody who I had a connection with. And by doing the things that I'm going to be talking about in this video, I got myself into this place where I'm like, I can accept my feelings towards someone, and yet that is not what's making my decisions. Question 2, how do you change your zone? A, get into a relationship with them. B, pay attention to their flaws. C, have smex with someone else. Or D, focus on other areas of your life. That is absolutely right. It is B and D. The first thing that we're gonna focus on is your crush's probable flaws. Flaws that go unnoticed. If they've lied once, no they haven't. If someone's able to be dishonest and then be like, you know what, I did that because of this reason, or I wasn't really sharing the truth of what was going on, they'll be able to take accountability for it. Whereas if somebody lies and you catch them at a lie and they kind of just like shrug it off, or they're like, oh, I must have just like misunderstood or whatever, that person has lied once. No, they haven't. They lie as a pattern. And I'm sure there's ways that we can like justify the behavior, but at the end of the day, it's something for us to keep in mind. They still let mommy do all their dishes and laundry. If they don't have any agency coming forth to like caretake the people around them or to provide value for people, then you're going to be drained in that relationship. They ignore you to avoid catching feelings and don't consider how you're affected by it. When people act aloof with us, we kind of create this story in our head. They like me so much and they don't want to feel that way. Like they don't want to be hurt. They're doing it to protect themselves. There's a very high chance that that is 100% the truth, that this person is kind of ignoring you because of the fact that they don't want to like develop feelings that could end up being really painful for them. But you have to ask yourself, is the person who you want to be committing your life to somebody who isn't even willing to express affection to you because they're too scared of getting hurt? Just because you're in a relationship with someone and just because you both say, I like you, well, I like you back, perfect, blah, blah, blah. Just because that happens does not mean that they're going to treat you with the respect that you deserve. They are not thinking, oh, like, how do I not hurt them? And granted, maybe they are. I'm gonna stop it before it gets too much. But they're literally hurting you by doing that. And you do not want to be in a relationship where the two of you are isolated on your own islands and then randomly come together for these good moments, and then whenever shit's hard, you like separate. They will only take accountability after guilt tripping you. Let's just say someone does something that's really a shitty. You go to them and you say, hey, I really had my feelings hurt. That wasn't cool with me. You violated my boundaries. I'm pretty angry at you. If a person approaches it with curiosity and is asking about you and wanting to better understand how you feel so they can better understand how their actions impact other people, then there's something really, really beautiful about that. But if someone is taking accountability where they're like, wow, I'm the worst. I'm so sorry. I'm a piece of shit. I should have never done that. And then you start to feel bad for them. You came because you needed to be heard. You came into that situation because you needed to communicate what wasn't working for you. And now here you are, feeling guilty for communicating your needs and your boundaries because this other person can't take it. Why are you being so hard on yourself about the fact that someone else isn't mature enough to hold space for you? And here's the thing, they probably genuinely do feel bad about whatever it is they did. But if they start playing the victim in that, subconsciously the goal is to get you to comfort them. They will share things they promise to keep private just to embarrass you. They put you down to try to feel better about themselves, and maybe it's an attempt to like not get to that point where they're obsessing over you. I don't know. This honestly really, really bothers me. They call people NPCs, simps, or pick-me's unironically. NPCs is honestly like one of my favorite terms. I think it's such like a funny idea, the idea that like some of us walking around are like real sentient beings, and then there's some that's like empty vessels just walking around like I am a biological robot, beep boop, beep boop. When people use it kind of like as a joke, I don't always think it's unfunny. I just think these kinds of terms, we start to put people in boxes and we perceive these boxes as lower, like, oh, if someone's a simp, they're so pathetic, da 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 da. Oh, if someone's a pick-me, she just like wants validation, da 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 da. But we take away someone's humanness when we do that. We start to see them as like this object, this thing like to be mocked or to be made fun of. To me, if someone does that with other people, what's to say that they're not gonna put you in a box in their own head and they're gonna start to treat you like an object as well? They poop and pee. Gross. They make cringy TikTok and YouTube videos. Enough said. They have an ex who never wants anything to do with them again because that person fucked up. But Dani, at some point or another, haven't you possessed any of these traits? The answer is yes. These are my historical flaws. I'm sure, honestly, if I wanted to, I could highlight all of them. I mean, not poop and pee, not me. It couldn't be me. I don't poop and pee ever. They ignore you to avoid catching feelings and don't consider how you're affected by it. I have absolutely done that. The thing is, it's not like I'm not considering the other person's feelings because I don't care, obviously. It's like I'm I'm not considering their feelings because it's like, I, for some reason, believe it is so ridiculous that I like them this much that they won't even care that I'm ignoring them. I didn't want them to think I like them too much, and I didn't want that to push them away. But then my literal actions of me being scared of them being pushed away was the thing pushing them away. Some people are simply safer and more secure than others. Some people will resonate at different points in the scale, because if someone's really safe and secure and values you and treats you with respect and shows you they like you directly, asks about your boundaries, respects your boundaries, this is most likely where you'll reside. And sometimes you'll go into this higher end of the spectrum, but it will quickly be kind of like neutralized by you communicating and by them communicating back. And then you realize, I can actually feel secure here. And I only say this because I have experienced it. And I've experienced people that are not safe who resonate on this higher end of the spectrum. And then you start to adopt those older behaviors again. When we talk about like staying in a good zone, it's also about learning, how do I turn the higher level people into a turn off instead of a turn on? What is the truth of this person? Like, not who they could be, not who they might be in like 5 years. Who are they today? Are they capable of being good to me? There is a person who at one point in time I had strong feelings towards, and we had a little thing. I had a really good connection with this person, at least on my end. This is one of the few people in my life who I've met where I was genuinely like, I could legitimately see a long-term future with this person where I'm happy. Like, the things they want out of life is not too dissimilar from what I want out of life. I really admire them. The way we connect on like a mental level is insane, where I say things that most people around me are like, they don't really get. This other person would get it. And then I still got really insecure in this situation because even though genuinely those feelings were real, we're not at that place where our energy is compatible. Because if I am resonating at this part of the scale when I'm with this person, then it's not really worth it, is it? Because I am making myself unhappy in order to build a relationship. So even if that connection is real, even if that connection could be like a soulmate connection, you have to pay attention to the reality of where they are now, not how where they are now is the perfect set point for them to be to what you need. Shut it down. And the way you do that is part 2 of this question. Focus on other areas of your life. But Dani, you may be asking yourself, how can I focus on other areas of my life if all I can think about is this other person? This brings us to question 3. What does obsessing mean about you as a person? Does it A, mean you're pathetic? B, you're wired for pain and misery for eternity? C, you'll only be happy once you're with your one true love? Or D, you possess the ability to fully commit to your passions? That is correct. The answer is D. Obsessing is your superpower. I have almost always used my obsessing skills to focus on people. But when it gets to the point where you're thinking about someone who you like, who may not even prioritize you, you start to do things that are against your own best interests. But that skill and that thing in your head that always thinks about them is a trait that you can transfer to anything in your life. Think about what you could create for yourself. Oh, but Dani, how do I turn something like obsession into something that feels good? I don't know, you tell me. This brings us to question 4. Why does obsessing hurt so bad? A, you're relying on uncontrollable things for your happiness. B, you're attached to the outcome. C, you're letting other areas of your life fall apart. Or D, you're neglecting other areas of your life and so they're crumbling before your eyes and now you feel like the only thing that can make you happy is this one person, but fixating on this one person is the exact thing that made you feel so hopeless and empty in the first place, and so it's like a snake eating its own tail. That is correct. The answer is all of them. So did you notice? None of these answers directly pertain to the fact that you're obsessive. All of these are manifestations that happen because of the energy in which you're focusing upon them with. The thing is, obsession is something that we can direct and change in order to be something else, and that is passion. Question 5. What's the difference between passion and obsession? A, loving what you do regardless of the outcome. B, stressing over what to do in hopes to create an outcome. C, courageously committing your energy to what you love. D, neglecting what you love for the sake of pursuing a fix. E, doing what brings you joy and satisfaction in your daily life. And F, relying on a future circumstance to bring you joy and satisfaction in the future. Which answers correlate to which definitions? Ta-da! Thank you for all the compliments about my beautiful PowerPoint presentation. Your passion, it's very much about committing yourself to something you love. Obsession is about taking action and resonating from a place of fear. And that's not to say that you don't love that thing, but you're not moving towards it in a way where it's like, I feel pulled, I feel called, I feel like inspired. It's like, like I feel pulled and I feel called. I feel like my life now is miserable. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't ever be the same until I have that. That is where my joy and my happiness and my fulfillment is going to come from. Here are things that you can obsess over that aren't your crush. So number one, you can get a new hobby. There are plenty of options when it comes to getting a new hobby. These are just some of them. How do you start a new hobby, right? So step one, buy a guitar. Step two, learn basic chords that will probably sound like absolute shit. Step three, complain about how badly your fingers hurt. Step four, watch YouTube videos of how to learn specific songs. Step five, practice the songs you like over and over again every day, no matter how much your roommates complain about it. Step six, play guitar with your friends. Step seven, continue this practice for as long as it brings you fulfillment, satisfaction, and joy. And that is not to say that these other things don't happen. There are going to be times where it doesn't look good, it doesn't sound good. There's going to be times where your fingers hurt. There's going to be times where people are annoyed with you for how much that you're focusing on something. I'm not here to tell you that you committing your energy to something means that it's all going to be handy dandy and you're going to feel good and happy about it all the time. The point about it is, overall, is it adding more love and flavor into your life? If you currently in your life are not really having anything to like look forward to, my number one suggestion to you is to try something new. The next thing you can focus on is your career. That's what I did with YouTube. Why am I going to focus my energy on people who aren't giving me the time of day when I have this passion that I love and I have a community of people who are willing to just watch me rant? And now when I'm sitting and I'm thinking, oftentimes it comes back to this, and it's up to me, granted, to keep it at a healthy level of attachment. Because if I think about it too much, I start to think like, oh God, I don't have enough subscribers, or I'm not making enough money, or da 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 da. And that's what happens when we obsess over people. But if you transfer it over to something new, you're able to kind of hit a little bit of a reset button, and it's easier for you to kind of fix those patterns because you're not so deep. Physical wellness. Honestly, this is something I really struggle with. Yay! And it's interesting because you can look at all these things and be like, Dani, I can obsess over physical wellness to the point where I actually make myself more sick. I can actually focus on my career to the point where I actually make myself more miserable. Just like the way where you can obsess with someone. I just want to say that you are absolutely 100% right. But the reason I'm bringing up these other things is because right now you are so heavily charged in the aspect of love and relationships that if you exit that and enter a new space, it can be easier for you to guide your thoughts on it and recognize when you're having thoughts that are unhealthy for you in a way because of the fact that you are not so heavily identified with your relationship to that thing. The fact that I took a huge break from YouTube made me be able to come back, and now my interaction with it and my relationship with it is different than it was a year ago. And that is because I had removed myself. I neutralized the charge by taking some time and space away. So when I came back to it, I was at a better set point than I was. The number one thing that you can do is focus on something else that currently has a neutral charge, like physical wellness, like your mindset. If you have a neutral charge towards something, it is going to be a lot easier for you to develop a healthy relationship with it. And now that you've spent enough time away from focusing on love and relationships and obsessing over people, when those feelings develop, you have built so much self-worth and so much confidence in yourself that you are not going to be so heavily concerned. Sorry, my cat is behind the monitor. That is absolutely terrifying. Say hi. When you really value your own worth and you're not focusing on love and relationships, by the time that you come back to focusing on that, the qualities that make you feel more insecure, the qualities that make you kind of go back into that shell and play more into like an avoidant or an anxious or whatever attachment style, those things are not going to resonate with you as much anymore because you're no longer focused in that reality. You are more focused in a reality of self-empowerment, of self-love, of commitment, of self-discipline, which gets us into our next part of the presentation. But Dani, you may be asking yourself, how the hell do you expect me to do, like any of these things if I'm basically unable? The answer is self-discipline. And I know that sucks to hear because you're like, yeah, bitch, how? Question 6, what is self-discipline? Is it A, forcing yourself to do things you have to do? B, punishing yourself every time you're lazy? C, eliminating all things in your life that are unproductive? Or D, prioritizing creating a daily life that brings you the most joy, ease, and fulfillment over instant gratification? Duh. Like, we think self-discipline is the way we perceive the word discipline, which is like When I personally perceive the idea of like, oh, discipline your children, it's like, okay, so you're going to hurt your children because they did something wrong or they did something you didn't like. But that's not really what discipline is about. Self-discipline is choosing to care for yourself over what will ease the pain at the expense of your well-being. What discipline is about prioritizing long-term, big picture joy over happiness right now. And this is why I think so many people get confused when we talk about living in the present moment and like your joy and your happiness is all now, because we start to equate that to, okay, my joy and my happiness is in like the pile of substances before me, but it's not really talking about that. And here's the thing, yes, I think that like distractions from your everyday life aren't necessarily a bad thing. However, it's about learning the balance between what things do I do, what things do I want to integrate into my daily life that make me feel more fulfilled as a person, that make me feel proud to be who I am. What patterns do I adopt today that create happiness for a long time to come? Question 7, what did we learn today? Crushes make us feel something special. We can feel something special without feeling miserable. Seeing someone for who they are allows us to release them from the expectation of the relationship we have in our mind. The tendency to obsess can be wielded to create a better daily life. Obsession can be channeled into commitment to our passions and our well-being. We always have the option to choose what we love at the benefit of ourselves. Thank you for watching. That's all. I know that this may not have been the video that you were expecting. You know, we ended up talking more about like focusing on yourself and focusing on your own well-being, flaws that can exist in another person. But the reason why this video is less so about like your feelings towards someone and more so about other areas of your life is because I truly believe that is how you get over someone. This isn't just about how to get over your crush. This is about how to get over the pattern of that crush. I talked about this in my limerence video. So again, if you really like the things I'm talking about in this video and you haven't watched that video, I highly suggest that you check it out. If you want to get over someone, it's because it hurts to like them. And so for you to transfer to a point where being into people is more fun and enjoyable, and like, yeah, of course, like you may still have your feelings hurt. There may be things that are uncomfortable and what have you, but at the end of the day, it's not just about getting over this one person. It's about completely changing the way that you experience love and relationships. I think I'm gonna start going live a lot more often, at least while I'm in town. I will say this is probably my last live for the month because I am gonna be going on a cross-country trip. I am going to make this live stream just for members. So if you wanted to watch the full video, you would have to subscribe to my membership to do that. So every new video I come out with, there is an extended cut version that is available to members, and then there is the live streams that will stay available to members. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do all the things, click all the buttons, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao.